Hey Bills Mafia, welcome back to the channel where we break down everything happening with our Buffalo Bills. The team is constantly looking to improve, making moves to get us over the hump and bring a Lombardi trophy to Buffalo. And this offseason, things are getting wild already. Before we dive into today's huge news, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Your support keeps this channel growing, and trust me, you're going to want to stay updated on everything happening this offseason. Now, let's get into it. All right, Bills Mafia, let's start with the bombshell. Rumors are swirling that if the Cleveland Browns decide to trade Myles Garrett, the Buffalo Bills will be one of the most aggressive teams in pursuit of the all-pro defensive end. Now, let's be clear. Right now, the Browns have no intention of trading him, but in the NFL, things change fast. According to ESPN's Dan Graciano, both the Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles are keeping a close eye on the situation. Why? Because Garrett is arguably the most dominant pass rusher in the league. 5 straight Pro Bowls, 4 first-team All-Pro selections, and a Defensive Player of the Year award. Yeah, that's a guy you want on your defense. Let's not forget, Buffalo struggled to generate consistent pass rush pressure last season, finishing with only 37 sacks as a team. If the Bills want to finally get past the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, adding a guy like Garrett could be the missing piece. But the big question remains, would Cleveland even consider trading him? And if they do, can the Bills make a competitive offer while dealing with salary cap constraints? Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, let's talk offense. The Amari Cooper experiment in Buffalo didn't exactly go as planned. When the Bills traded for Cooper last season, the hope was that he'd be a game-changing weapon for Josh Allen. But injuries and inconsistency led to a disappointing season. 297 receiving yards in 8 games and just 41 yards total in the playoffs. That's not WR1 production. Now, Cooper is a free agent, and the question is, should the Bills bring him back? According to NFL.com's Matt Okada, a return to Buffalo could make sense. He believes that with a full offseason working with Josh Allen, Cooper could regain his top-tier form. But here's the issue. His projected market value is around $14.2 million per year. That's a hefty price tag for a player who underperformed in 2024. Would the Bills even consider bringing him back at that cost? Probably not. But what about a 1-year prove-it deal in the range of $8 million? That could make sense if Buffalo doesn't find a better option in free agency or the draft. Personally, I think the Bills should aim higher. With young guys like Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir developing, the team might be better off looking at a speed threat who can stretch the field. But what do you think? Now, would you be okay with bringing Amari back at the right price? Or should the Bills move on? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Now, if Buffalo doesn't land Myles Garrett, don't panic. This year's NFL draft is absolutely loaded with defensive line talent, and Brandon Beane knows it. NFL Combine data shows a massive increase in the number of defensive tackles invited this year. 41 compared to just 25 in 2024. That's a 64% jump. Beane and the Bills have already met with Texas DT Alfred Collins and Michigan's Kenneth Grant. Both are absolute monsters in the trenches and could help solidify Buffalo's run defense, which has been an issue in key games. Beane himself has talked about what he's looking for in a defensive lineman: size, strength, and the ability to either collapse the pocket or stop the run. If the Bills don't make a huge trade splash, expect them to use one of their 3 picks in the first 2 rounds on a game-changing defensive lineman. Alright, Bills fans, we all know that defense wins championships. And when it comes to defense, getting to the quarterback is one of the most crucial aspects of the game. Unfortunately, this was an area where Buffalo struggled last season, and it cost them dearly, especially in the AFC Championship game against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. We sacked Mahomes just twice in that game, and we also saw how he was able to extend plays and ultimately pick apart our defense. Now, let's talk numbers. The Bills ranked just 23rd in the NFL in sack rate in 2024 with a 6.75% mark. That simply isn't good enough for a team trying to win a Super Bowl. The pass rush needs reinforcements, and while the front office has some work to do financially, Sports Illustrated's Matthew Verderami believes the Bills must find a pass rusher who can win a playoff game. And he's right. The question is, who can be that guy? One name that keeps coming up in discussions is Haason Reddick. If that name sounds familiar, it should. Reddick was a monster for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2022 and 2023, racking up 27 sacks in 2 seasons. He was an absolute force off the edge and played a major role in helping the Eagles reach Super Bowl 57. He has 4 seasons with double-digit sacks, including a career-high 16.0 sacks in 2022, which tied for second in the entire league. But here's the catch. His 2024 season was a disaster. After being traded to the New York Jets, Reddick held out for part of the season and never found his rhythm. He finished the year with just a handful of sacks and failed to make an impact. Because of that, his stock has dropped, and now he may be available for a bargain deal. And that, Bills Mafia, is exactly why Buffalo should be up all over this opportunity. Let's take a step back and talk about why the Bills need Reddick. Back in 2022, Buffalo thought they had solved their pass rush problems by signing Von Miller to a massive 6-year, $120 million deal. At the time, it looked like the missing piece to get the Bills over the hump. But, as we all know, injuries have slowed Miller down, and he hasn't been the same since tearing his ACL. In 36 games with Buffalo, Miller has just 14 sacks. Worse yet, he has 0 sacks in 5 playoff games. That's a problem, and it's why Miller could be a cap casualty this offseason. If the Bills move on from Miller, they will need a veteran presence who can step in and make an impact immediately. That's where Reddick comes in. Yes, his 2024 season was rough, but let's not forget the kind of player he was before that. This is a guy who thrives in an aggressive, attacking defense. If Buffalo brings him in on a prove-it deal, he could regain his elite form and give the Bills the pass rushing boost they so desperately need. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Money. The Bills don't have a ton of cap space to work with. They're currently in a bit of a financial bind, and any move they make will have to be calculated. But if they can structure Reddick's contract the right way, perhaps a short-term deal with incentives, this could be one of the best value signings of the offseason. Of course, signing Reddick alone won't fix all of Buffalo's defensive issues. The Bills still need to invest in the defensive line through the draft, and they may look at other veteran options as well. But adding a guy like Reddick would be a huge step in the right direction. Imagine a defensive front featuring Reddick, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, and a high upside draft pick. That's a unit that could cause serious problems for opposing quarterbacks. So, Bills Mafia, we've covered a lot today. Myles Garrett rumors, the Amari Cooper debate, and the stacked defensive draft class. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you go all in for Myles Garrett if he became available? Should the Bills bring back Amari Cooper on a cheaper deal or move on? Which defensive lineman should Buffalo target in the draft? Drop your answers in the comments and let's get the conversation going. And hey, before you go, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. The offseason is just getting started, and trust me, there's a lot more to come. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Bills!